Hello everyone, my name is Lowko and welcome to another Hearthstone video. Now over the last couple months I've really not been uploading any kind of like patch changes, okay? And for the most part the reason for that is because I don't really find it all too enjoyable and I don't think it's that much fun to watch either, to see someone talk about the patch changes and give their thoughts. However, this is by far the biggest patch that Hearthstone has released in a very long time, and arguably this is like the biggest change they've announced ever since like they announced the actual game. So here's the thing, when it comes to Hearthstone, there's one problem that the developers will be running into primarily. If you're a new player and you want to start off playing the game, you will start off with the basic cards, and in order to actually compete with players that have already been playing for a longer amount of time, you're gonna have to purchase practically every single card in the game because hey, I mean in order to actually get started, you'll probably have to right now spend, I don't know, a couple $100 on it before you can actually compete at some of the highest levels. And even though there's definitely basic decks that you can be competing with as well, if you're just starting out and you're gonna go ahead and play, for example, games without Dr. Boom, you're just gonna put yourself at a massive disadvantage. Now on top of that, the other issue that they will also be running into is that if they want to keep on releasing new expansions and obviously keep on earning more money, which is obviously what they do want to do, they will run into the issue that new cards will have to be a little more powerful than the previous set of cards. I mean, as a player, you will at the very least need like that feeling that you're actually progressing through more and more content and that you're slightly becoming more powerful. Now with that becomes the issue that older cards will become irrelevant over time, and newer cards will obviously be slightly overpowered. I mean, if it keeps continuing at this trend that we have right now, at some point we'll probably see like 1 mana 3/2 drops or whatever in the game. So they have come up with a solution that basically sort of splits the player base in two, and obviously because of this, people are either very happy or very upset, so let's dive into it. They've come up with a system that is very similar to Magic the Gathering, where they're basically gonna introduce a so-called standard format and a wild format. Now currently, you can look at it as we are playing the wild format. Basically, every single set of cards that has ever been released in the game will be in the wild format of the game. So future expansions, current expansions, previous expansions, everything that has ever been released is gonna be in the wild format. However, we're also gonna be having the standard format, and the standard format is a little bit different. The standard format will only include the cards that have been released in the last 2 years or so, and obviously they can be making changes to that in the future, but the basic idea here is that the standard format, and that the one obviously that you're going to be seeing in tournaments primarily as well, and it's actually going to be the main ranking as well in Hearthstone itself, is going to only include a limited set of cards, and most likely this is going to be just the most recent years of cards that have been released. Now the advantage of this is obviously that A, it's much easier to balance because you won't have that big of a set of cards, but also upcoming expansions will have a massive impact. Now let's say you're releasing 100 cards, right, into a set of cards of 200. You're adding 100 cards to that. Those 100 cards will have a huge impact in the current meta game. Whereas let's say in 2 years down the line we have 1,000 cards in total. I don't even know how many there are currently actually, but let's say you want to add 100 cards to 1,000. Those are still going to make an impact, but over time the impact of new expansions is going to be much smaller. So the advantage of the standard play here is that first off, new players will not have to like spend hundreds of bucks to actually start playing the game, and second, there will also be a constant shift in the meta game in both tournaments because the new cards will have a much bigger impact. Now what does this actually mean when it does get released, which is going to be in the spring of 2016, so it's not really all that long from now. First off, our beloved prince, Dr. Boom, is going to disappear. Sludge Belcher is not going to be played anymore in the standard mode. You can still play him in wild, but I guess we're gonna go back to Tazdingo. The Piloted Shredder is not gonna be, in the standard mode either anymore. Piloted Shredder is likely gonna be replaced with things like the Yeti, which I haven't seen in years. And there's a lot more cards like Death's Bite, Loatheb, Muster for Battle. All these kind of cards are not gonna be played anymore in the standard competitive mode once this actually goes live. So basically what I'm trying to say is that Naxxramas is actually officially out. Not quite the way you may have imagined it, but it's actually gone. Oh, and on top of that, something the community is very excited about, they're gonna be adding in 18 deck slots. So you're gonna get like 9 additional deck slots, which is honestly something they should have implemented years ago, but hey, better late than never. Alright, so the main concern that people have is that they obviously spent a lot of money to achieve and, obtain the current set of cards, and that those cards are gonna basically be obsolete if you wanna be playing competitive, and if you actually wanna be watching any kind of, competitive Hearthstone, and you wanna try and copy the decks of those players. If you wanna go ahead and do that, you're just simply simply gonna be in a lot of trouble because the cards that you've purchased are just simply not gonna be relevant anymore. So the main talk obviously on the forums and on Reddit as well is whether or not this is just one big cash grab from Blizzard. And honestly, in the very basis, obviously it is. Blizzard is just simply trying to optimize the monetization of this game, and whether or not that is a cash grab or not, they're obviously trying to squeeze out as much money out of you as they possibly can. I mean, that's basically what every business is trying to do, right? But the main point here is though that they're also trying to design the best game you possibly can have at a competitive level. But honestly though, I actually find the solution they came up with to be quite smart. I mean, this means that they have room in Hearthstone to still be developing a game 5 to 10 years down the line because the new sets of cards are always gonna keep on, coming out. And obviously, if you do want to play with all of the cards, you can just simply go ahead and play the wild format instead. Now, there's also a couple of other issues that people have brought up, and those are actually legitimate concerns that I am sort of having as well. First off, the wild format is, it's called wild, and probably none of those cards are gonna be balanced anymore. I mean, the majority of players will likely be playing the standard mode, which means that there's gonna be certain decks that are just clearly gonna be overpowered in the wild format. People will probably be, balancing the game around the standard format, but not so much around the wild because it's just sort of a big dump of cards and just see what you can do with that and just create the biggest deck you can. And just go ahead and play some wild matches. Another thing is that they've announced that you will not be able to purchase the previous card packs anymore after they've actually been removed from the game, and you will not be able to go ahead and play the adventures either, I believe, unless you want to pay with in-game gold, or you want to go ahead and craft those cards from dust. I honestly think though, that is something that I haven't actually seen anyone talk about, but I honestly think that they do plan on releasing the Curse of Naxxramas and a bunch of these other adventures that they've released over time for free. Since the cards are not going to be played in the standard format anymore anyway, they may as well just give new players a bunch of extra playtime and just sort of release those cards anyway, because hey, they're not going to be relevant in the standard format anyway, and most of the time, there's not going to be that many people playing wild. Now obviously nobody likes their shiny toys to be taken away from them, and I definitely do understand that concern, but overall, I think this is a very, very smart solution to a game that was running into a problem over time, especially the longer it's been released, and I think this is a very clean-cut decision that they've made. In general, a very solid announcement, and I think it's, I think it's good for the future of the game. But let me know what your thoughts are down below the like button in the comment section of this video. Maybe I'm overlooking something very important here, but let me know what you think. Is this good? Is this bad? Let me know. And other than that, I want to thank y'all for watching. Have an amazing day. Do not forget to smile, okay? And I'll see you in the next one.